But isn't a big part of the problem that President Lopez Obrador and now President Sheinbaum live in the right front pocket of the Mexican drug cartels?
I disagree with that statement.
I thought you might.
America, that exchange is from a United States Senate hearing, not a podcast, not a cable opinion show, a sitting senator asking a question under oath. The day after that clip aired, her government issued a formal statement calling the DEA Administrator's testimony unfortunate. On July 15, 2026, she went on her own press conference, and her answer was a Netflix show.
There is a very popular series, one of the most popular, that shows exactly that. The manufacture of methamphetamines in the United States.
What is up, guys? Tyson, DeLaCruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Let me tell you exactly what triggered Claudia Sheinbaum's press conference word for word, because it's important that you hear the actual statement before you hear her response. July 14th, Senate Appropriations Committee hearing. Terrance Cole is the administrator of the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, the federal agency basically responsible for taking down drug trafficking networks. He's a career special agent. He worked in Colombia. He worked in Afghanistan, and he spent years working Mexico. This is a man who built cases in those countries and watched how those relationships between criminal organizations and government officials actually operates. A reporter asked about the DEA's top priorities. Cole said the Mexican government and the cartel networks are one in the same, and the agencies, this is their number one priority. One in the same, not alleged ties here, not alleged connections. One in the same, his exact words on record as a sitting head of the federal drug enforcement.
There's no doubt that the narco traffickers and high-ranking government officials in Mexico have been in bed for years. But for all of a sudden, we're paying attention to it. We have a president who fully supports America first, Americans first. They are just as much responsible for the death and destruction of record amounts of Americans by cooperating, by conspiring, by helping, producing this poison to come across the border and come into our country. And Senator, I can assure you, this is just the start of about what's to come in Mexico.
He didn't say corrupt officials exist in Mexico. He said they are responsible for American deaths as cartel members themselves. That is absolutely true here. Cooperating, conspiring, helping to produce this poison. Those words mean something specific in federal law enforcement context here, you guys. That is the vocabulary of a criminal prosecution, not a diplomatic criticism here. Prosecution level language here from a head of an agency that files drug trafficking cases. FBI Director Kash Patel, sitting at that same table that day, was asked why so many Mexican officials maintain close ties to cartel organizations. His answer here on record said largely fear, Senator. Those cartels have so much power. You've seen them go down there and kidnap people, behead people, burn people. And I think it's fear and a little bit of corruption. At least in my opinion, it is a lot of corruption. Fear and corruption, both named under oath here, you guys. Stay with one number for a second. 80,000 Americans died of fentanyl overdoses in 2024. That number was down from 110,000 in 2023. The fentanyl is produced in Mexico using chemical precursors from China and moved through the cartel supply lines until it reaches into America. Cole didn't invent that connection. He named the people running the supply chain here and the officials, the government, Mexican government officials protecting them. Now, you guys, let me show you exactly how Claudia Sheinbaum responded.
It seems to me that the DEA has a lot of work in the United States. Normally, the DEA devotes most of its work outside the United States. But within the United States, it has a lot of work, and it should be devoted to work. There is a very popular series, one of the most popular, that shows exactly that. The manufacture of methamphetamines in the United States. And just as that is a series that may seem like fiction, well, it is a reality. So we categorically deny the statements of the head of the DEA and urge him to work hard in the United States and within his own organization
She is citing Breaking Bad. It is a show, if you guys aren't familiar with it, as evidence in a press conference to the DEA. The DEA administrator just said her government and cartels are one and the same. And the sitting president of Mexico went on a lecture and said, actually, have you seen the show about Walter White cooking meth in Albuquerque? Meth and fentanyl are two different things, and I get that. The show that she's referencing is a drama set in New Mexico about a fictional high school chemistry teacher. It premiered in 2008. Those of you that aren't familiar with it, it has been off the air since 2013. The DEA's testimony from 2026 about Mexican police chief Bernardo Garcia Luna, who was convicted in a New York federal court in 2023 of having taken hundreds of millions of dollars of cartel bribes while simultaneously running Mexico's national law enforcement apparatus, and a sitting governor. We covered this before, and a sitting governor of a state of a cartel that's named after Sinaloa, indicted on April 29th, 2026 for allegedly conspiring with the same cartel to move drugs into the United States. She cited, you guys, a TV show in response to a documented federal indictment, a trail, and a conviction. Check out this headline. Sheinbaum rejects DEA's comment of deadly connection between her government and the cartels. This was July 15, 2026. DEA Administrator Terrance Cole and the Mexican government and the cartel networks are one and the same, and the agency's number one priority. Sheinbaum said the remarks seemed a very unfortunate statement. It seems more like a political statement than one backed by evidence. Okay, Miss Claudia Sheinbaum, not backed by evidence. She said that about the statement made by a career agent who built cases across Colombia, Afghanistan, and Mexico in a United States Senate hearing with the FBI director sitting at the same table. We know what's going on, Miss Claudia. He spent his career gathering evidence, and she called the testimony here political. Here's the honest version before we go any further, you guys. Sheinbaum made one argument that is accurate, I would say at least. She cited a 50% reduction in fentanyl crossing the U.S.-Mexico border over the past year. Who's responsible for that, Ms. Sheinbaum? Maybe the United States. The reduction is absolutely real. Border seizure data confirms it. She also provided cooperation with deportations from Mexico that the Trump administration publicly acknowledged. And she pointed to something that the DEA cannot avoid here. There are documented cases that DEA agents who were themselves obviously corrupt. Just this week, she referenced a DEA chief in Mexico who was dismissed over ties to lawyer connections to drug trafficking. Both of those things are true. Both live on the record here, you guys. What Miss Claudia Sheinbaum can't resolve here, Garcia Luna's conviction, the Sinaloa governor's indictment, the DEA administrator saying as a sitting federal official under oath that the relationship between high-ranking Mexican cartels and high-ranking Mexican government officials, there's no doubt about it. He watched that himself in those countries for years. For years, we've seen it. We all know what's going on. Ms. Sheinbaum, her 50% reduction number and her testimony are two separate facts here. Both can be true simultaneously, but we know who's responsible for the 50% reduction, right? And out of those two statements, one doesn't cancel the other. On July 1st, 2 weeks before this DEA press conference fight, something happened that a lot of people didn't really connect it to.
Now, U.S. officials say CUSMA will not be renewed in its current form.
Yeah, this means that basically we're moving to rolling reviews of CUSMA. So essentially there were three different options on the table for our three countries. They either renew the trade deal for 16 years, they move into this rolling review period, which lasts for about 10 years, then CUSMA might expire.
CUSMA, also known as USMCA in the United States, is a trade agreement between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. It replaced NAFTA in 2020. It actually governs hundreds of billions of dollars of trade between the three countries annually, okay? Mexico said it wanted a 16-year renewal, security, and stability. The Trump administration in the United States said no. Instead, the deal moves to a rolling annual reviews. Mexico's economy now exists on the clock year to year, with a lot of uncertainty, subject to American compliance demands and the threat of expiration hanging over their heads with the potential renegotiation. The United States keeps up pressure on Mexico over narco politics 2 months after Ruben Rocha's indictment, June 30th, 2026. U.S. officials have reported that politicians from Mexico's ruling party have been acting as informants for U.S. authorities in an effort to clear their names. We know what's going on here. You guys, the DEA fight and the trade deal non-renewal are the same pressure points here, and this is the same pressure campaign. Two different departments, the same week, the same target here. The DEA applies pressure on the cartel government connections here. The trade desk applies economic pressure at the same government. And when you read them separately, they look like two separate stories. But when you actually read them together, it's definitely a coordinated squeeze here. And Sheinbaum, Miss Claudia Sheinbaum, called it political. In February, just this year, 2026, Claudia Sheinbaum publicly thanked the CIA for its cooperation in Mexico's anti-cartel efforts. By April, her administration had opened a formal investigation into CIA operations on Mexican soil. Check this out. This is from The Guardian here. Mexico investigates whether U.S. lied about the role in the capture of a drug lord. Dated July 9th, 2026. Mexico has launched an investigation into whether the U.S. lied about its involvement in the capture and secretive transfer of top Sinaloa cartel member Ismael El Mayo Zambada Garcia in 2024. All right, so Mexico is now investigating whether or not the United States lied when it said it had no involvement in the capture of El Mayo Zambada, one of the founders of the Sinaloa cartel, a man whose organization produces a significant portion of fentanyl reaching into American communities. The United States captured one of the architects of the fentanyl supply chain here, and Mexico is now investigating whether the capture was handled, quote unquote, properly here. The same week, Sheinbaum called the DEA testimony political. A plaque next to a plane used in the operation displayed publicly at the War Eagles Air Museum in New Mexico notes that the two FBI agents successfully executed a highly complex, secretive, and daring arrest of two of the world's most wanted fugitives. Mexico says it was blocked from inspecting the plane, blocked from the photographs. The cartel founder was arrested, and Mexico complained, publicly outraged about how El Mayo was caught, silent on what El Mayo was actually running through Mexico into the United States. Same situation, you guys. The cameras are on. It's all performance theater here. And here's the part, you guys, that explains why the USMCA non-renewal matters as much as the DEA statement.
Mexico is saying that I offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico to take care of the cartel. She wants to know, is that true? Do you think I'm going to answer that question?
That's why I'm asking. We'll see.
I will answer it. It's true. If Mexico wanted help with the cartels, we would be honored to go in and do it. I told her that. I would be honored to go in and do it. The cartels are trying to destroy our country. They're evil. She's so afraid of the cartel she can't walk. So, that's the reason.
Sheinbaum's version of all of this, the DEA is making political statements. Go watch Breaking Bad. Trump's version, she's immobilized by the fear of the organization the DEA just testified her government is a cartel. 14 days. July 1st, the United States refuses to renew Mexico's trade security. Mexico's economy goes into a rolling annual review. July 9th, Mexico opens up an investigation accusing the United States of lying about capturing the Sinaloa cartel's founding leader. July 14th, the DEA administrator calls the Mexican government and the cartels one in the same in a Senate hearing. July 15th, Sheinbaum calls it political and cites a television show. Guys, look at the sequences here. Who's escalating? Who's doing performance theater? Who's doing performance outrage? Who's protecting the status quo that keeps the cartel supply line operational here? Put it in the comments, okay? The DEA's leverage is a criminal prosecution. The trade desk language is the USMCA clock, the annual review. Both are now running simultaneously. The United States confirmed it arrested one of the world's most wanted cartel founders, and Mexico, and Claudia Sheinbaum's response is, why didn't you tell us first? The American fentanyl death toll is sitting at like 80,000 plus a year. That number doesn't make Sheinbaum's press conference. The paperwork for El Mayo's arrest does. At least in my opinion, that tells you everything you need to know about whose interest that press conference was actually serving. America, the DEA administrator said the Mexican government and the cartels, they are in each other's pockets. The FBI director said fear and corruption. The United States senator said, right in that front pocket. Sheinbaum called it political, cited a show. Sinaloa's own governor was indicted for working with the cartel. There's a trade deal that's putting our economy on a one-year clock. The United States captured a Sinaloa cartel leader, and she wants to investigate arrest paperwork. Okay, let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.